Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening and for giving me a voice. My name is Gawel from Bengal University. I will talk today again about about mix fermentation of glycerol and rice brown waste into hydrogen using bacteria of Clostridium bergerinski. So there was provided by Professor Raja Gopalan from National University of in New Delhi in India. The material was chosen according to most uh, uh, troublesome waste in India and in Singapore, because also was with cooperation with Professor Kun Lin Yang from Singapore, and was chosen as the best suitable, most dangerous waste, and was troublesome waste was crude oil and rice, due to the most useful, most common, and thus most super suitable for utilization ways to be the hydrogen. And we get crude oil or rice bran supplementing by iron chloride as addition to accelerate a nickel ion to accelerate the activity of enzyme, hydrogenase enzyme, to compare work, and this was first time was making the hydrogen production was observed. Then we calculate by modeling using using screening by by screening by uh, and neural networks uh, system, and then have again, which resulted that waste was from liter of waste was produced even 17,000 17 liters of gas, according to research. The additional substrate was really high. That he chose as crude oil as very interesting because it's produced quite high hydrogen production, and it's often waste. In this similar is also in algae, which are very similar companion. He chose Bergerinski as, according to Professor Palm, which he started to produce with highest production of hydrogen in according to Pan at our modeling from sugar, and thus Professor Rajo Galapalan chose Bergerinski from wastewater isolated. And this study was using materials from agro residues local, and bacteria was heat shocked by 121 degrees for 50 minutes in in chloride and stress additionally in presence of 0.25 molar chloride acid, and the batch work the the batch work was in centrifuge keeping in the fermentation. Then, in case of rice, was used by by addition of sodium of hydroxide was chosen, uh, and and chalk the rice, and thus was liter in 120 milliliters per bottle, and hydrogen production was found the correlation factor, and then was research, and as result, the glycerol oil was 5 to 80 grams, and chosen how much was converted after it. And in case was the highest production from in case of of 60 gram per liter, whereas the highest gram per liter was according to the 5 milligrams, so not as usual in the lowest concentration but middle, because 80 was then also decreasing, because it was increasing up to 40 and 60 gram per liters, then decreased because it was overloaded bacteria. In the 60, there also was quite was utilized only utilized was 60% of crude oil added, while in other ways, when other in higher, the reduction was much higher and utilized only in case of 80 there was reverse only 40%, while in case of 50 grams per liters was less hydrogen production by utilization of even 80%. So in case if we want to utilize more ways, the better was lower, uh, lower, lower, uh, lower percent, the lower concentration of glycerol initial, so between 40, 30, and 60 and 50 was the most useful for utilization. However, 60 gram was the highest. The production was optimized, and in case of glucose, the from rice was utilized mostly in case of adding the rice bran of in case of also 50 and added to 20 gram per liters of rice bran was the highest production. So the all different was in case addition of iron was the highest in case of 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 uh, 150 milligrams, so similar to work of Iranians from professor of titanium and iron oxide from Professor Yashni from Shiraz, but the production was much 3 times higher than in case of Professor Shiras by Professor Raja Gopalan. So here shows that this way is even better than combination of these two ways. So this show the interesting story how to utilize using one step, one bacteria. So the mixed waste, but mostly on glycerol. So it's useful in case if we this research if we in designing, for example, algal substrates. And this is the very interesting of planning the research work, and he using of Python using the uh, artificial neural network system was also used, so it helps will be helpful for using this and low error and replicability to make industrially available production of hydrogen. Thank you very much for listening to me.